before I open the meeting, apparently there's a technical issue with the agenda, the link to the Teams platform meeting in the posted agenda on MyTownGov. And so if anyone is watching this on Channel 18 and wishes to join the platform, email the conservation agent, and I'll read out her email address, nsmith@chatham-ma.gov. Call-in number, I guess you'll see that. If you don't see that on Channel 18, it's 508-945-4410. And the code is, I'm not sure you need it, 440-607-457. Pound. Now, while everyone's dealing with that, I'll start us. Good afternoon. This is a hearing of Chatham Conservation Commission being held on October 26th, 2022, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Bob Rawls, and I serve as the chair. Hearings are broadcast live on Channel 18 and are also recorded for the on-demand archives available on the town's website. Today's hearing is being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, after hearing from applicants, representatives, and interested parties, I'll ask for comments and questions from commissioners. Whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you are speaking. If you're attending by phone and wish to speak, use *6 to unmute and address the chair, and use *6 again to mute. If you're online and you are not a commissioner, please keep your camera and microphone off unless you've been recognized. Indicate that you wish to speak by using the raise hand feature. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. The commission will vote on each matter by roll call, so that we have a record of a quorum, I'll now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Bob Del Vecchio.
Present.
Janet Williams.
Present.
Karen Latin.
Present.
Mary Sullivan, I believe, is remote today. I don't hear her so far. Elise.
Present.
Gordon. Cheryl Meservey.
Present.
Is remote and here, and I am here, so we do have a quorum. I'm going to turn it over to Nikki Smith, who is also remote today. Chatham's Conservation.
I did just arrive.
Pardon? Oh, are you? Sorry, I didn't hear. Somebody said something I don't know. Couldn't hear what it was.
I'm sorry. This was Mary Sullivan.
Oh,
I was
okay,
just
you are
saying
here.
that I am
Very
online.
good. Thank you. Thank you. Nikki Smith, the conservation agent, will lead us through the agenda, but I want to repeat again that there appears to be a technical issue with the link to the Teams meeting that was in the agenda posted on MyTownGov on the town's website. So if you, sorry.
It's Mary Sullivan.
Okay.
I will just tell people the issue is that the capital letters were supposed to be small letters or lowercase, and for the password, and the lowercase was capitalized. So if you just reverse the capitalization on the password, you can get in.
That's the issue. Oh, very good. How did you figure that out, Mary? So the password would it just
so
reverse all the capitalizations. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
and it works.
And it works. So if you're watching, hopefully that is the magic secret for you to get in. So it'd be capital I, little q, 3, big W, 4, little x. All right. Hopefully everyone who wants to participate will be able to. And again, email, if you're still having trouble, email Nikki Smith at nsmith@chatham-ma.gov. gov. All right. So, Nikki, I guess we're ready for you.
You're muted.
Are you muted? Yes, Nikki, you're muted, if you're there.
Could be dealing with somebody who's.
Sorry, I just said I was working on emailing
Right.
Okay,
Bill
right.
Litchfield.
Right.
Um,
All right, I can, while you're doing that, I can sort of, well.
I can go ahead and start the first one.
Yeah, I will.
94 Seashells Drive. It's a request for an amended order of conditions. Shea Schwartz LLC, map 1A, parcel 2A S2, SE 103443. Installation of a heavy-duty drift fence. This is a phase 1, so I would say we don't need to spend a lot of time on it. They're just kind of trying to, I'll let the representatives speak to it, but match up with the rest of the neighboring properties.
Right. All right.
For Seashells Drive, it's a request for an amended order of conditions.
Yeah, who was that? So do we have someone here for 94 Seashells? Catherine, is
Yes,
that
so
yours?
this is,
Okay.
yeah, Catherine Ricks here with Coastal Engineering on behalf of the applicant. This is the first phase and just asking if we can do an amended order of conditions. The neighboring property has the heavy-duty drift fence, and this applicant would just like to continue that drift fence onto their property to protect the dune there that protects the salt marsh.
Right. So this is phase 1, where we're simply trying to figure out whether this request to amend is in keeping with the original project, and then we'll deal with the specifics of it when we enter into phase 2. Does anyone have any? I mean, it does seem on the face of it that it's, to me, that it's not inconsistent. It's not out of bounds with the original project. And Janet.
Yeah, no, as I recall, the abutting properties did install the snow fence, the sand fence. So I remember that this one did not, so that's what this request is to, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Correct.
Any concerns, questions?
No.
Okay, yeah, I think that we can go ahead and move this to phase 2.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
Catherine, just to
Yes.
double check, this was already submitted for the filing deadline for the, what is it, the 9th?
No. Yes, correct.
Okay, so they already, I suggested that you guys would probably say that this would be fine for an amended order. So they did file already for 11/9. So it would be a continuance to 11/9 for phase 2.
And approval of phase 1.
Um,
Approve phase 1 and schedule for hearing on November 9th.
Well, we're just, the motion is just to
Phase,
phase 1.
to go forward to phase 2.
Yes, yeah,
Yep.
correct.
I'll make a motion that we approve the amended order of condition phase 1 for 94 Seashells Drive.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Bob,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Sharon,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. All right, thank you. We'll see you
Thank you.
then.
All right, next we have the notices of intent. We have 75 Tulipy Run, 59 Tulipy Run, and 27 Tulipy Run for the rock revetment, reconstruction, and elevation extension and return extension on 27. And they have requested to be continued to November 9th of 2022.
The question, Nikki, is that Is that going to coincide with the availability of Greg Berman by any chance?
I actually did see him on Friday and let him know that they were being continued to 11/9, so I should be hearing from him soon if
Okay.
he will be available.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I'll move that we continue 75 Tilipy Run, 59 Tilipy Run, and 27 Tilipy Run to November 9th, 2022.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Bob,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and Cheryl. Going out
Aye.
over here. All right. And I vote aye as well.
All right, the next notice of intent is 470 Shore Road, James Eisenstein, map 15A, parcel A8, SE 103554. Rock revetment, reconstruction, vertical and lateral extension, fiber rolls, and associated site improvements.
Catherine Ricks with Coastal Engineering here on behalf of the applicant. And would you like me to share my screen that has the updated plan on it for review?
Sure.
Yeah,
Submitted.
that's great.
Okay. So we submitted the revised plan that has the revetment to the base flood elevation of 15. And with that, Wilkinson provided an updated plan where we have the vegetation above the revetment. We were looking at the fiber rules previously, but due to constraints of construction and the equipment and everything to get out there to be able to place the fiber rolls, it was more economically feasible, and with the benefits that come of the extra vegetation, we went with the vegetation in this area. And I believe someone from Wilkinson is on. I don't know if Katrine is on. Nikki, do you see if Katrine is on from Wilkinson? I can't see on mine. Don't see her.
While you're doing that, there's someone on with their camera turned on, Ms. Pools. Would you mind, if you're not a representative for this project, would you mind turning off your camera?
Yeah, I don't see Katrine unless she's on just by phone.
Okay.
That's one phone number I didn't recognize.
Okay. This is, I guess if there's any questions on the revised plan, pretty much I'd say the vegetation is all the, builds in all the comments that have been previously received, and the revetment is down to the base flood elevation as previously discussed.
All right, so no fiber rolls, vegetation,
Correct.
and the thought is that will get the job done in terms of protecting the top of the revetment.
At this location, based on what we've looked at and the amount of coverage and the reduced amount of fetch for this area, we do consider the 15 to be tall enough for at least, the recent, not recent, but the coming years, though likely, if anything shifts in the Barrier Islands or any storms improve, or the
thought is that would get the job done. I'm
for
sorry.
now, this will, I don't know.
Catherine, I need to interrupt you again. We have some people talking. They have their microphones turned on. If they wouldn't mind.
Yep.
Everybody muting except,
I think Christine, who's from Wilkinson, actually has her hand up.
okay, all right.
Hi, Katrine's having a hard time getting on, so if you give us just 1 second, she's going to come over here to my desk.
Okay, oh, I see.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second, she thinks she might be in.
Can you pull up the plan?
Camera's on. Oh,
Hi, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you and see you, yes.
Horrendous time of getting onto this meeting. Apologies.
Well, part of it may not have been your fault. I think there was a technical
Okay,
issue.
well, that's comforting anyway. Hi, I'm Katrine Higgins from Wilkinson Ecological Design. And I don't know where you're at in the conversation, so I apologize if you have any specific questions or if you wanted me to
We were,
talk through more.
Catherine,
plan?
yeah, I guess Kathy can fill you in on where we are.
Okay.
Yes, so I just discussed the revised plan and the fact that we went to the base flood elevation with the revetment based on this location and the protection from some of the barrier islands here and the little bit of dry beach that is there. We feel it's gonna protect for now up to the base flood elevation. And then we did not include the fiber rolls based on the amount of construction equipment, the size of the construction equipment versus the benefits of the fiber rolls versus when we could put some good vegetation in there. So Wilkinson has additional vegetation at the top of the revetment. And then also we've discussed previously the top of the bank vegetation and the no-mow zone. So all of that is included in the revised plan that we submitted, ours and Wilkinson's. So if
And
there's
we've
any
had-
questions on it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we've had good luck with this approach of blanketing and planting above revetments before.
Okay, well, then this will be another test case of that, I guess, over time. So it'll be good to find out, it'll be good to find out how that works. And that was the only change, right? We reduced the height of the revetment and swapped out vegetation for fiber rolls.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone have any questions, Janet?
So, thank you, Bob. Katrine, the density of the vegetation above the revetment has increased, is what I understood Catherine to explain, as part of the strategy for providing enhanced protection. Is that, I'm looking at the plan, and I was trying to line it up with the last plan. Can you explain how, the changes that have been made there to that density?
Sure. I think the most important thing in terms of density is the grasses that we would be planting there, the American beach grass and other herbaceous species that have the strong root systems to hold the soils in place. So we would add the shrubs, but we'd be covering that area with beach grass at a nice density to really thicken that area, hopefully, just similar to our approach at 498 Shore Road, the planting there. I think it would be similar to that in terms of density. And then adding shrubs like bayberry.
Okay, and then the hatched area between the top of the revetment and the lower part of the restoration area is primarily selectively managed for invasives, since it's not terribly invaded? Has that changed in any way since the last time?
No, correct. That's when you're on the beach looking up on the bank, you see really lush vegetation, bayberry and beach plum and trees, and that's in that area. So we wouldn't be touching any of the native vegetation there. It would just be, there might be a sprig of bittersweet here and there, especially near the stairs. So we would just be getting rid of anything like that. But for the most part, that's a really nice plant community.
Right, that's what threw me the first time I went there, looking at it from the bottom up and saying, my God, they say this is all invaded, it looks great.
Exactly.
So it's sufficient, is that will be done by hand removal?
Correct.
Okay. And then last question is, we had talked before about possibly putting a vegetated buffer strip at the top of the bank to prevent top-down erosion. The new plan has these little green trianguled designated section at the top of the bank. Is that to be a meadow? Is that seeded with a meadow mix?
Correct. No mow and seeded with a native, this Cape
Okay.
Cod Meadow Mix.
And by no mode, does that mean that it's going to function as a VBS? Essentially?
Yes.
Will it be allowed to naturalize?
Right.
Okay,
We'd still like, if, say, bittersweet did grow in there, we would want to treat that and get rid
Yes.
of it.
well, you have, we've talked about this before, you have invasives, adjacent invasive colonies. So there'll be that condition that you monitor all of these areas for the presence of any invasives getting in there and removing
Exactly.
them. Okay, got it, thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one quick one, Katrine. The meadow mix that you're talking about, seeding in, that has some drought-tolerant plants, correct, to grow underneath the stairway, like creeping red fescue?
Right. Yep.
Okay. Is that the only one, or you got some of these other ones drought-tolerant as well?
They all should be fairly drought tolerant.
I mean, not
to
shade
establish-
tolerant, I'm sorry,
Oh,
shade tolerant.
The Deschampsia, if we could add plugs of things underneath the stairs in addition. Pen sedge, maybe we could add some plugs if to make sure that some of the shade tolerant species thrived under there or like along the edges.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
And as I'll just jump on what Janet was saying on the no-mow area, it's considering you're going to make that change, maybe on the plan as well, you add that the Cape Cod Meadow mix will be added to that no-mow area. Right now, it just says no-mow area. I don't see any designation that it's going to be planted with the meadow mix.
Okay.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bob. Anyone else? I'm looking at my notes, I think we've been dealing this since June, and so I want to make sure that, it looks like we're getting down to the final moments, and I want to make sure that the things that we've talked about previous sessions we're all in agreement about. And anybody can look back in their notes here and just remind me if I have this right, but we did talk about a split rail fence. Was that something that again, it was so long ago, that I want to know if that's what your recollection is, Catherine or Katrine. Was that something we talked about? Yeah.
Yeah, it's stated on the plan about a demarcation.
Okay, all right.
I don't know I don't know what that would look like, but something so it wouldn't be mowed.
Right.
Yes, I don't think, we hadn't really said it was going to be a split rail fence, but it'll be
Right.
something, any of our other type of demarcation, so that there wouldn't be any mowing over there.
Okay.
That's something that we would have to just go over with the applicant.
Yeah, I just, in my notes, I had specifically written down split rail, so for some reason I thought that was what it was going to be, but that's fine, I'll change that. And was there a discussion, or I believe there was some discussion about nourishment? Or
There was some, I believe we had 9 cubic yards only because of the area there, so
Okay, that's what we agreed.
that was what we had, but something to monitor that area and determine whether that was enough or if that was too much in that area based on the navigation channel that's right there as well.
Right,
So that's just something I know that sometimes there can be conditions where, we come back in 3 years after monitoring it for that amount of time, and then it can be changed, but it would be that amount for the 3 years.
very good, okay. Anyway, anyone else have anything that they recall that we need to remember when we put this OOC together? Because my memory has gone a little dim on the early discussions. All right, well, maybe that's it.
I just want to note that Elise cannot vote on this one. She missed 2 hearings, so you can only miss 1.
Okay,
So
good, all right.
not that changes quorum issues or anything, but
Yeah.
Elise cannot technically vote on this one.
Okay, so if I ask you, Elise, don't vote. Okay. If I ask you to vote, don't vote. All right,
Yeah, just abstain.
yes. Anything else? I guess we're ready. It would seem.
Yeah.
What date would we be going to, Nikki?
That would be, I think, 11/2 if we're ready for the order of
No, we
conditions.
can't send anything there. 1, 2, 3. We have 9 for
We have-
November
we have,
2nd. That's next week. That's not happening. We have the special one on November 16th.
Oh, yeah, we have,
November 16th?
yes, if that's fine with everyone, no
Because the second is chock full, is that,
session, no new hearings, just either continuances or orders, extensions, COCs, that kind of thing. So the 16th is great for us if it works for the applicants.
yes, what say you?
Yes, that would, yeah, I believe that would work. And then, Nikki, I believe we were saying that the COCs would be discussed at the same time as the order of conditions. So I just would want to make sure that we get those two in there as well.
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay,
I'll move that we continue 470 Shore Road to the next work session on November 16th, 2022 for an order of conditions.
Latin second.
roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
and Elise, no, not you.
Abstain.
Not you, abstain. Elise abstains, and I vote aye.
Thank you very much.
Cheryl.
Thank you.
Cheryl, I'm sorry. Oh, what?
Cheryl. Oh, well.
All right. Oh,
Nikki.
I think I recognize that voice.
Yeah, it's a 2-year-old. The next one is 41 Mooncusters Lane. She thinks you guys are the doctor, and she's upset about it. Kevin and Courtney Chase, map 11A, parcel 15, 15A, SE 10 3587, proposed pool, spa, patio, and associated site improvements.
We're definitely not the doctor.
Good afternoon. David McNevich with Coastal Engineering, representing the Chases in this application. And so this property has an existing dwelling and patio, and the proposal is to construct a new swimming pool and patio. And where the pool and enlargement of the existing patio are proposed is presently a lawn area. There's no woodland clearing required for the construction of this pool, and it's all open area at this time. The patio drainage will be handled with a drainage system, piping to a dry well that is located outside of the buffer zone. And the new coverage for the pool and the enlargement of the patio is about 1,635 square feet. And so we are proposing that approximately 1,700 square feet of lawn area on the western side of the house in the 50 to 100 foot buffer zone would be removed and replaced with native plant material. There'll be a sediment barrier installed just outside of the 50-foot buffer line to protect the wetland resource areas and the 0 to 50-foot buffer. And I guess I would, at this point, open it up to any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to ask a key question. Did you submit a planting plan of any kind or some sort of planting inventory?
I have not. I spoke to or exchanged some emails with Nikki just within the last couple of days, and we will put that together for you to inventory what the plant materials would be in the mitigation area.
You're right, and also where the plants will be as well. In other words, what we usually get in that sort of plan is something where you have some sort of icons for where the plants are, because whenever the agent goes out there 3 years from now, it's much easier for them to figure out whether the plan was followed.
Sure, absolutely. We'll produce that with the inventory.
All right, and that's going to be a key part of our discussion of this, so we'll probably be continuing, just to let you know. But we can certainly ask some other questions. And since I'm talking, I do have another question, a couple of questions. There's a pool fence proposed, and I can't tell on the site map where it ends or begins.
Sure. Okay, so the pool fence, if we want to start at the west side of the, and I can see it on the illustration that's up on the screen. So the pool fence starts on the west face of the house and extends to the west. You can see near the septic tank, and then it turns to the south, and at the bottom of that sort of arched or stairway that leads from the patio down to the lower, what is presently lawn area, there would be a gate at the low end of that stairway, and then the fence extends towards the 50-foot buffer zone, and then turns east and runs close to the 50-foot line below the retaining wall that's required for the patio there, and then follows essentially the work limit line to the southeast property line, and then runs to the northeast along that southeast property line, then breaks off beyond the buffer zone, and then it turns almost due north and then ties back into the house adjacent to the shell driveway.
All right, so it is I guess what could be viewed also as a property fence, in that it's not going just around the pool. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure I understood where the beginning and the end was.
Yeah, the only location where it's close to the property line is there's probably about a 40-foot section. Just going to drop a scale on it. That's running parallel and along the property line. Yeah, it's about 45 feet of the fence is running along the property line. Otherwise, it's not following the property line at all.
Yeah. Well, actually, when you speak, you can ask about that. All right. I think we'll probably have to have a discussion about that. The another question I had was that there's a bed between the pool and the resource area, sort of a planting bed that has some vegetation in it. Is that, you said it was going, I think the application said it was going to be restored, but I didn't know what that meant. Is that restored?
Well, it would be, if it is disturbed during the construction, there's very minor grading there. That would remain. If it were disturbed, it would be re-established.
Okay, so it wouldn't be necessarily reestablished with native plants then, it's just whatever's there now?
Correct.
Do you know what's there now?
I don't. I think there may be some hydrangea in there, but that's not my forte, so
Okay.
I can get the answer for that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to stop talking and open it up for others.
Okay, thank you, Bob. I wanted to pick up on the fence issue. I listened as you described it, struggled a little bit to follow, and wonder if maybe it'd be possible for you to call that out by using a different color on the plan so that we'd be able to see exactly where it's running. I couldn't find it, because there are so many different lines that are converging in different places. But I do agree with Bob's observation that it seems to be enclosing a lot more than just the pool. But I can't tell exactly unless you can call it out so we can actually see it. So with that, I would ask you why you even need it if you have an auto pool cover?
So the pool design came from the pool installer, what's being proposed and where they wanted this fence. They do have an auto cover proposed on it, and I did inquire about that. It's their preference that, if in certain circumstances in the winter, they said that the pool cover would maybe come off and they would want the fence there, but that is what, it's Viola Pools is the pool contractor for this. So that is what they proposed and the location that they
Okay.
proposed.
Okay, I do understand that sometimes people want the additional security of having a cover and a fence, but that said, particularly where this property is adjacent to a wetland area, my request would be to pull that fence in much, much tighter around the pool, so that it doesn't form a barrier to wildlife movement in this area. So it's enclosing far too much of the property, and goes right to the no disturb zone line. So I would like to see it brought in significantly.
If it's needed at all.
If it's, yeah, I get it, that there's no rule yet in town about
Right.
having both. And some people do want both, partly for the reason that you're saying, and partly for other safety concerns, but would like to see it brought in tighter. And is there a pool patio on the other three sides of the pool, other than the patio that is adjacent to the house? Is there a concrete apron? Is there a walkway around the pool? What is on the other perimeter walls?
On the south side, it's, as I understand, it's just going to be the coping, and then there's no patio beyond that.
Okay.
This plan shows on the west side in the dark gray hatch, if you will, that's a retaining wall.
Yep.
There, so the patio exists between the retaining wall and the pool and the house. And then on the east side, there's just an area there where the automatic pool cover would be located. So really no patio beyond that pool cover. And then right at the northeast corner of the pool, really right at the buffer zone, 100-foot buffer zone, there's just some stairs that would come down from the existing lawn area, some new stairs, and a small section of the patio in order to just give you the access to come down the stairs and make the turn and come along the north edge of the pool.
And then the
There.
proposed stone wall next to those stairs is going to function as a retaining wall?
Correct.
What's the elevate, what height is that?
The grade difference is only about 2 feet, 2.5 feet.
Okay. And So there's an existing brick patio, and then you're saying that the patio will continue up to behind the new retaining wall on the west side of the pool. Is that also going to be brick, or?
I'm not sure that that the material is going to in fact be brick.
But the brick patio adjacent to the house is staying, or is that coming out to match whatever the new?
That would match whatever the new
Okay,
patio
so
is.
it's likely to be a new patio, so I would ask you when you come back to be specific about what that material is.
Okay.
Okay,
In addition to that, whether it's pervious or not, that's really
well, it has to be.
where just so you know, that's where we tend to, we want materials like this to be pervious where possible.
Yeah, and there are good materials, even for pool patios, that are at least semi-pervious, but they require maintenance. That's it for me for the moment.
And
Thank you.
that's required to be pervious, where we're showing a drainage system to collect the pool runoff, the patio runoff, and discharge it to that dry well, the drainage pit that's located outside the buffer zone.
Is
So
it-
there'd be no runoff off the patio as proposed.
Is that what the Ds are?
Yes,
Those
those
are
are-
drain, that stands for drainage, okay.
Correct.
Okay,
And so they're fed by something that's inside the brick patio as well?
Yeah, typically like a little,
Little
for
drain or
lack of a
something?
better word, a yard grate, yes,
Grate.
Okay,
small scale. But the idea is to collect the runoff from the patio so that it doesn't, run off the patio into the buffer zone and collect it and discharge it outside the buffer zone.
all right, well, it's a fair question on your part whether or not we require it. We don't, as I say, it's a strong preference, but in this particular case, the question is whether your drainage will serve the same function. And I think it's, Janet's waving her head up and down. I don't know about others, but anybody else want to ask questions? Karen?
You hit, my big concern is that fence. It's awfully wide and taking up really the entire backyard rather than just being a pool fence. And we've seen other people come before us where we've asked them to pull back their fence around a pool because it was consuming too much of the property. I'm also wondering if the retaining wall that is connecting with the southwest corner of the pool, is there any chance that you can make that patio area smaller so it's not right up against the pretty much 50-foot buffer? Because between the retaining wall and the fence, you've left no space to the 50-foot.
Yeah, it's tight there, but that's the purpose of the retaining wall, so that there doesn't have to be any disturbance in the 50 or any grade changes there. So that's really its purpose for being there.
Yeah, I was just hoping maybe it could be pulled back a little, or maybe then the pool gets pulled back a little bit, if the retaining wall can't be. It's just, you're going right up to the 50. And that bothers me.
Well, I understand, but right now that's lawn. So it's already beyond that, because you can see the edge of the clearing is in the 50 and beyond that. So
But
this is
lawn,
not new disturbance. We're certainly going to be pulling activity away from or out of the 50-foot.
right, but lawn is pervious, so, lawn absorbs the water and everything, and this is a patio and a retaining wall. So that's why I was asking if you would consider pulling it
I
back.
can certainly ask.
Thank you.
That's it, okay. Anyone else? Nobody?
Hey, Bob.
Yes?
Cheryl
Cheryl?
Vazili here. I just have a quick question.
Okay.
It looks like the fence near that little, those steps down actually goes through the mitigation area. Off the west side of the retaining wall. Is that
Yeah, that's-
fencing going right?
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point.
That, I'm just curious if it can come up at least against the, closer to the retaining wall, if it even needs to be there. Because it cuts right through the mitigation area. The other thing I would suggest, because I'm also not a fan of the size of this fence, is at least bring it into the edge of the clearing, which is marked on the map. And that it does, why does it have to go all the way out to the property line and run the property line? It seems like if we just pull it into where there's, and not disturb anything.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I understand that suggestion, so I'll convey that along. I can see what you're talking about there. With regards to where the fence is going through the mitigation planting at the bottom of the stairway, I understood that the intent was we're removing lawn area and planting it with native materials. So I'm not sure I understand the concern with the fence running through. That's really only about a 5 or 6 foot length of native plant material.
I guess I
Essentially,
don't,
that'd be running through.
yeah, and I don't see why it's actually on the other side of the staircase there either, so I'm not sure
Right.
what the purpose of that whole section of the fence is.
Right, it would seem that it
On
could.
that west
It would
side.
seem that the fence doesn't need to be there. It could.
Yeah, at
Retaining
all.
wall acts as a fence.
Right, people often put something on top of a retaining wall to act as a fence, and
Yeah,
that would be,
And
One way
Cheryl,
to start
yeah, and
this.
Cheryl's observation that the mitigation is contained within a fence is certainly counter to the idea of why we have mitigation, which is to provide
Right.
habitat for wildlife and food and so forth. So if you're fencing it in, it really serves no, its capacity as mitigation is diminished. So I thank you, Cheryl, for pointing that out, but that is quite true. So I think there's a couple of reasons to consider that where that fence is there. Maybe.
Okay, thank you for the explanation as to the reason for that request.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, another alternative, I guess, would be to move that mitigation on somewhere else. I don't know.
Correct.
It's up to you. And we'll dig into that a lot more whenever we see the actual mitigation plan. Anything else? Any other,
My concern was the fence.
the fence,
That's
okay.
been
It's all about the
very well.
fence, okay. The fence and the mitigation. So I
And the-
think,
And the plantings too, yeah.
yeah, what is being planted, so forth. So I think that gives, I haven't heard any concerns about other aspects of the project, so I think we'll leave you with that, with
Okay.
the issue of the fence, and we await the mitigation plan.
So if we could request a continuance, I'm just curious, because we can certainly get that planting plan, the mitigation plan, maybe get the adjustment to the fence location done. When would you need revised plans to be on could we possibly come before you again on November 9th? And when would we need to have the materials submitted in order to do that?
It's a question for Nikki. Yeah.
So that would be, we would have to have them by 11/2 for the 11/9 hearing.
Okay, that can be done. That's a week away. We can get this done for that.
Okay.
I'll move that we continue 41 Mooncusses Lane to the next hearing on November 9th, 2022.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Bob,
Aye.
Janet,
aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Cheryl,
aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Thank you. See you then.
Thank you very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Next up, we have 62 Cedar Street, Douglas Gensler and Michael Moore Gensler, map 13C, parcel T1, SE 103588. Construction of a garage and parking spaces.
Oh, my.
Here we are.
Good afternoon,
In
David
person.
Clark Engineering. Phil Cheney is here, who prepared the restoration plan. Back when this house was first placed on this property, we were before you for the driveway and a garage. At that time, the owner chose not to go forward with the garage, and we closed out that order of conditions. The current owner would like a garage, so we're back before you. The garage is in the same location as it was permitted several years ago. It's right on the edge of the 100-foot buffer to the wetland. That wetland is part of a series of wetlands that wind up discharging to Oyster Pond. The only thing different about this plan is that because the garage takes up valued parking spaces, we're proposing additional parking along the driveway. If you've been out to the site, you'd see that this whole area, basically from the driveway all the way to Cedar Street, is quite infested with non-natives. So it posed a challenge to us to figure out what would be appropriate mitigation. We did meet with Nikki out there, who gave us some valuable suggestions, and we forwarded that to Phil. And so Phil's here to present that portion of the project. Basically, Nikki noticed that there was a lot of mulch being spread on the south side of the driveway to kind of keep back the invasive. So our suggestion was to remove all that and incorporate that area into a managed restoration area. And so that's what Phil's done. If there's any questions on the site plan, I'll be happy to answer them. The driveway is pervious and will remain pervious, as well as the new parking area. No trees have to come out. We will have to do some limbing for the parking area, but those trees are already saddled with trying to support the honeysuckle, and part of the project would be to get the honeysuckle out of the trees within the work limit. So if there are any questions on the site plan, happy to answer them. Phil's here to talk about the restoration.
I think let's hear from Phil, and then we'll.
Okay.
Very good. Phil Cheney, landscape designer, that created the restoration plan here. Begins, you could say, with setting a rail fence at a distance of about 15 to 20 feet, a little bit variable depending upon the vegetation and situation, off the edge of the driveway. Removing the vegetation within that. It's all almost essentially non-native and invasive species. I've highlighted the existing trees that would be maintained and kept within those zones. There would be a 3-foot seeded mow strip along that fence so that we can maintain and keep the invasives from encroaching. And then I've got a planting plan that shows the area inside between that mow strip and the driveway, planted with good shrubs. As you can see from the list, chokeberry, winterberry, bayberries, sheep laurel, arrowwood, all that in that area. So it's a definite improvement within that area, and something that with the grass mow strip can be, you can keep the invasives at bay.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to start. Is in your experience, with invasives that we experience here, would a mow strip actually protect that mitigation from the bad stuff that's in that resource area?
Yeah, I find it's remarkably effective, just because, mowing is what keeps the woody plants from taking over. So it doesn't have to be a vigorous grass, but just the native forbs growing in that area. You mow that down a couple times in a year, you keep the invasives from getting established. You just keep cutting them down, so it prevents that. You do have to watch maybe for bittersweet vines reaching out over, from treetop to treetop, something like that. But as far as the suckering and the reseeding in that area, the mowing is a great help. You can still get reseeding within the shrub area, but it's the suckering that we're mainly trying to stop.
Okay, so your experience is that is effective.
Yes, it's definitely effective against the suckering
All
plants.
right, because my own personal experience is that it is not very effective, and so I'm glad to hear that you have a different perspective on it. On my own property, so bittersweet roots can go far further than 3 feet, and will, into my garden,
Yeah.
no matter how wide of a mow strip I have. So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't think it eliminates the need to just monitor in the areas within the planting, just because a fair amount of the invasives are gonna come from seeds. And those are, the mow strip has no value against that. But the main thing, I think, is it really creates a barrier where, it's maintainable. So you know that, okay, the honeysuckle and everything hasn't crept in, you can keep it back. And that's one of the biggest challenges, that those areas become, even with a fence in a spot like that, would just become invisible and be totally obscured over time if you weren't using the mower to keep things down. So that's that kind of value. I think it's just to define the area that what's inside that fence is kept clean of the invasives. So it gives you a workspace.
Yeah, is your mow space, is the area devoted to your mow strip included in your mitigation?
No,
It is
no,
not,
just the plantings themselves.
When I was there, what occurred to me was, before we had this conversation, was that if the mitigation area were in the middle of the bright green turf lawn area, then it would be much, much easier. And let's just say it was amoeba shaped or circular shaped or whatever, that it'd be far easier to protect it. So that's why I'm bringing up this line of questioning.
And I guess my response there would be that bright green turf area is outside of the buffer zone.
I know.
Okay.
But, that isn't to me, a requirement that mitigation necessarily be in a buffer zone. Mitigation serves this value, no matter where it is. But anyway,
I guess I've always understood that to be a requirement, so.
Well, in general, yes, but there are cases where it's not feasible. And this almost appeared to me as a case where it wasn't really feasible. It's just this long strip of mitigation that is highly vulnerable to the tsunami of invasives that are all next to it. But anyway, see what others here think about that. Okay, that's all I have for at least for the moment. If someone else would like to opine, go ahead, Bob.
I got a few things, Phil. On that, what we were just talking about, the mow strip, is there any way to keep that brush sheared back like it is now, as well as mow that area?
Yes, I guess that seemed intuitive to me, that you'd be using the fence as something you would shear back as well. Yes.
Okay, so could we add that somewhere?
We can do that.
That's something that could be done on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Thank you. And also, behind the garage, in our jurisdiction, right up against the 100-foot line, are there going to be any trees removed there on that corner?
No, the abutter actually called me today regarding that, and because the abutter holds a 20-foot wide planting strip easement along that easterly line, and no trees are required. We might have to prune some of them because it's been 10 years since this was first developed, but we can't take any of the trees out on the east side of that garage.
Okay, thank you. And the little parking area that's going to be created, there is some, like as you mentioned, there are cedars and cherries in there. Are there going to be any removed? It seems like it's going to be pretty tight there
It
against
is
those
going to
trees.
be tight, but we made it clear to the applicant that wouldn't be able to take the trees out, but except for the cedar, we would most likely be trimming some of the deciduous trees,
Maybe the lower branches?
yes, exactly, yeah.
Okay, but you won't be removing any?
No, there's no need to. We made sure of that, yeah.
Okay. Aside from that, I don't think I have any other questions. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a question for Phil. So the split rail fence, is that going to surround the mitigation area or just run along one side of it?
Just along the vegetated side of it. Wouldn't need that on the driveway
On the
side.
driveway side, so there's no, yeah, you don't need anything there because
No.
nothing's going to be mowed. Okay. What, I'm just curious, what your assessment is of what the current state of this wetland and its inner buffer zone is in terms of invasives? Is it almost entirely, or how?
Yeah, it's almost entirely. When I first looked at it the first time, I just kind of threw up my hands and said like, wow, this is, completely overrun. I saw very little evidence. I mean, other than the few trees, maybe the occasional arrowwood that was being strangled. But yeah, I could not find much of anything that was considered native.
Boy, it's really a shame. David, do you know offhand when the house was built under the permit, what was the mitigation that was done?
I don't think any mitigation was required back then, other than, there might have been some along the driveway.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't done for this applicant, so I don't think I have that.
Yeah, I was just curious if anything had been required, and if so, if anything was left of what had been required, or if that had been gobbled up by the invasives as well.
I don't think very much mitigation was required because we had the
Most of it.
wetland re-identified this last spring, and it moved it quite a few feet into the driveway. So I think the driveway might have just skirted the 100 feet back then.
So at that time, it was outside, almost
Yeah,
everything
most
was
of it was
outside.
outside, yeah.
Okay.
Again, I think it was 8 years ago now.
Well,
That's why-
the
that's
house
why-
has a plaque on the front saying Restoration Award 2012. And
So that's it.
I wonder what's,
This house used to sit on the bluff of the pond. It was all part of the Tishman property. Mr. Tishman loved the old house, but it didn't fit his family needs. So another fun project, let's move it out to the street, create a separate lot. And that's why we're kind of tight with the 25-foot setback on the north side of the garage. He purposely set that property line to give as much land to himself after he sold the project. So it fit within the development standards at the time. The wetland moved a little bit
Yep.
in that 10 years or so.
thank you for that. That clarifies a lot of things for me. Thank you. I don't think I have anything.
Okay, anyone else? Looks like I'm the only one who's worried about the,
Oh, I'm worried about it. We're going to require rigorous monitoring and removal
Okay.
of any invasives. I'm already thinking about
you're
the
thinking about the
the
OOC
order's going to
language.
say.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
I mean,
right.
it's going to be a continuing condition,
Yeah, I think this could actually be a nice test case of your confidence that this mow strip will protect it if 3 years from now, or 3 years from whenever the project is done. And, yeah, and the OOC, I could see having, asking for photos of what, good photos of what it looks like afterwards, and let's just see if it did the job, and we'll learn something.
Sure,
Yeah. Hope you're right.
hope so.
This project doesn't require any zoning review, so it's strictly before you. And
Okay, all right.
as far
Okay.
as closing it out. And
So it doesn't sound like we need much, if anything. I think, Bob, you asked for just a note somewhere about the shearing. Yeah, and that can be done. That can be done as you have time. And otherwise, it seems like we're ready to go to order conditions.
So I think we're looking at, from here on out, 11/16.
I'll move that we continue 62 Cedar Street to work session on November 16th 2022 for an order of conditions.
Latin second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Okay,
Thank
I
you very
can
much.
submit a revised plan with those notes on it. What's the date you want that by then? Vicki?
The week before the,
For 11/16, it would be by the Wednesday before.
Okay. So it should be the 9th.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next two are, I'm gonna open them together. They're both getting continued, or had request to be continued to 11/9, 185 Sears Road, Richard and Sandra McDonald, map 11A1, parcel 22, and both parcels 22, SE 103585, and all right, there's some confusion on this. Filed about the same time, but they split two projects on the same address. So I know one of them is 3585. I'm not sure what the other one is. They've, but either way, reinforced the salt marsh and guardrail and coastal bank restoration. They've split them into two different applications because I believe they think the bank restoration will probably be easier than the salt marsh and guard. I'm not exactly sure, but regardless, Ted Keon, Renee Gagne, and DMF have not commented yet. So that's basically why they're continuing, because we have multiple people that still want to comment on it.
Okay.
And so they are asking for a continuance to the 9th.
I'll move that we continue 185 Sears Road, proposed reinforced salt marsh and guardrail, and also 185 Sears Road, proposed coastal bank restoration, both to November 9th, 2022.
Latin second.
roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
All right, the next notice of intent is 641 Kroll Road, David and Julia Holloway, map 12I, parcel 4-20. It did not have an SE number, but it also was not in the database, which was weird. So I just want to make sure that it was actually mailed to DEP. Construction of a swimming pool, invasive plant management, and mitigation plantings.
Thank you, David Little, Ryder and Wilcox. And it was mailed, Nikki. A couple of times in my lifetime, we've had trouble with DEP lockbox getting the check, but we'll certainly get to the bottom of it. So we're aware that it'll have to be continued. David and Julia Holloway, the property owners, are here in the back row with me today, and Teresa Sprague is online. The proposed project includes the installation of a swimming pool and patio, invasive plant management and site restoration, and the elimination of some lawn. The pool and the patio are proposed to be located just landward of the 50-foot buffer to the top of the coastal bank and adjacent to the southwest side of the dwelling. I've shown construction access on the site plan that will be via the southerly curb cut on Kroll Road over an existing lawn area, which will not require the disturbance or removal of any trees. And with respect to the pool and the patio itself, the pool will have an automatic cover. We are proposing no pool fence. The patio will be bluestone pavers, dry-laid bluestone pavers, similar to the other patio that the Holloways have on their property. We, in our standard construction notes, we've noted that gutters and downspouts will be connected to dry wells, or crushed stone will be used at the drip line. And we also intend to install a trench drain along the edge of the patio to intercept any stormwater runoff that may go off of that. The proposed work itself occurs over an existing lawn and patio area. The total amount of work that's proposed is 638 square feet in the outer aura, and Teresa has proposed what I hope you will see as a very robust planting and mitigation plan for the site to mitigate for the work. So if I could answer any questions specific to the pool before we turn it over to the good part of the project with Teresa, I'd be happy to do so.
I think let's go to the good part.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design. I think the entire project is a good project, but we are proposing, so I just quickly want to review existing conditions on the site. So we know that the 641 Kroll Road is located just south of Frostfish Creek. It's developed with a single-family dwelling, garage, guest cottage. There's an associated bordering vegetated wetland located to the north and west. With the flood elevation, there's also a coastal bank located on the northwest side of the property with an AE10 flood zone. The existing single-family dwelling, as you know, has an attached patio that extends to the west and is located within the 100-foot buffer zone. There is a driveway that enters from the east, which is half paved and half shell, and there's a stone pathway that leads from the parking area south to the house and the attached patio. Lawn extends basically around the entire circumference of the house, and there's also a detached patio and pergola just to the west of the existing structure. The primary natural plant communities on this site are red maple black gum swamp, along with coastal forest and woodland. The coastal bank itself and the buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetland is heavily invaded with shrub honeysuckle, border privet, bittersweet, porcelainberry, burning bush, and garlic mustard. There is no substantial ground cover layer beneath any of the invasive vegetation in that buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetland. There's also a large amount of grapevine and greenbrier, which we know are native, but can be aggressive in disturbed areas such as this one. And that vegetation is currently climbing over the existing and mixing in with the invasive vegetation. There is a significant native tree canopy on this site, mainly native oaks and pitch pines with eastern red cedars spattered throughout and black cherry in the understory. Other native vegetation that we noted on site includes arrowwood viburnum, highbush blueberry, winterberry holly, American holly, and bayberry. To the north, on the northern side of the property, we have a significant stand of red maple and tupelo, which is the dominant plant once we get into the wetland boundary area. But the buffer zone to the wetland is distinctly lacking in understory and sapling-sized trees. The entire property is also located within the ACEC, but there are no natural heritage or endangered species identified, estimated, or priority habitat on the site. So we are proposing to remove invasive vegetation from a significant portion of the buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetland. So that's approximately 7,280 square foot area of invasive species removal. And in addition to that, that is shown in the green color on our site plan. And the tan color, we're showing an area of about just under 1,900 square feet of lawn removal. And that area will be restored to native vegetation to help increase that buffer between the upland developed portions of the lot and the bordering vegetated wetland to the west. Again, the invasive vegetation that we're proposing to remove includes shrub honeysuckle, border privet, bittersweet, porcelainberry, burning bush, grape greenbrier, and a significant amount of garlic mustard. We are proposing to restore the entire area with 9 native trees, 160 shrubs, and 350 native ferns, grasses, and perennials. In addition to that, after the initial invasive species management and removal, the area will be seeded with a shade-tolerant native plant mix and blanketed with a biodegradable erosion control blanket to protect steep slopes while we are working our way through the invasive species management process and restoration process. We are also showing to the north and the south of the proposed restoration area what we're calling a 4-foot mowed path to control invasive species. This came up in a hearing just prior to ours. As far as managing the invasive vegetation, this is going to be a long-term project for the Holloways. I know they are interested in restoring the entire bordering vegetated or buffer to the bordering vegetated wetland, but they're trying to bite this off in small chunks. This is a very large property, and it's a large, extensive area of invasive vegetation. So in this phase, we are proposing that 4-foot mow strip both to the north and the south of the proposed management area, so that we can keep the invasive vegetation from encroaching back into that area, holding it at bay to the north and the south until we get to the next phase, which we'll be bringing before you in the near future, where we'd be proposing to remove the additional vegetation on the north and south sides of the property. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm sorry, there is one oak tree that we are proposing to remove from the site. It is severely damaged. We've included a photograph of that on our plan. The base of this oak tree is rotted, and it does pose a potential hazard to structure as well as to any of the restored areas after we complete the restoration. So we are proposing to remove that tree because of the condition of the tree. So happy to answer any questions about that.
Thank you, Teresa. Anyone want to begin?
If I may, Bob?
Sure. Yeah.
When I was going through my project narrative before the meeting, and I did prepare three alternatives to this, but somehow it didn't get included, so could I quickly mention them right now?
Sure, if you can just summarize them, because I
Well, it's
guess,
just that, so originally the clients, the Holloways would have preferred to locate the pool just west of the patio where the pergola is, but obviously that's the 50-foot no disturb zone, so that wouldn't work. The other option would be to put it in front of the house on Kroll Road, but there's a 40-foot setback from the street, and the septic system there is there, so that option didn't work. So that led us to try and squeeze it in between the 50-foot buffer and the house as shown on the plan. Thank you.
all right. It would be good for the record to,
Include it.
yeah, to give us one of those. Just while we're missing pieces, I didn't see a coverage table in the format that we normally want. I saw that you had a calculations diagram.
It was included with in the checklist.
All right, I didn't see it, but I'll look again for it. Oh, there it is. I didn't see it in the online stuff, and I looked, but I'll look again. But Karen is showing it to me, so
Okay.
I know it exists.
Thank you,
all right.
thank you.
All right. Yeah, you were going to, yeah, okay, Bob is going.
Hi, David, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I'll get to on the back of the garage, there's a shower, and I was just wondering whether that was permitted in the beginning.
We can ask the Holloways. Could one of you come up to the podium? So they purchased this property a few years ago. I don't know if it was there when they purchased it or not, but Julia can obviously let you know.
The one in back of the cottage?
In back of the cottage, yes.
Yeah, it was not there.
It was not there when you purchased it?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's in the no disturb zone. So we'll have some issue with that. And then I have, and the patio, is that going to be pervious? Is that going to be?
Yes, it's going to be pervious bluestone, similar to what the other patio is constructed of.
Okay. And I have some questions for Teresa. Teresa, the lawn area, once it's regraded and seeded or sodded, that won't be permanently irrigated, will it?
It will not. I do not believe there is an existing in-ground irrigation system on this property. I would have to double check that with the Holloways, but the idea here would be to get the lawn established, and then this would be a fescue microclover lawn mix in any disturbed areas, and then allow them to naturally, and then allow that lawn to kind of be on its own once it got established.
Okay, is that in your notes, your plan notes?
We generally add it as a general plan note, but I'll double check, and if it's not, we will certainly add it to the plan.
Okay. And the white spruce on the west side of the curb or the parking area, the parking space, I should say, off the street.
Mm-hmm.
There are like a row of I think 3 or 4 white spruce right on the edge of that. Where are you gonna have access to the area? They're growing pretty close together. The spacing isn't correct. And I was wondering, when you remove those for the access, if you could replant those at the correct spacing.
So
We could
Teresa,
certainly
he's
do-
referring right at the end of the paved curb cut. There are three trees that were planted that prevents a
Yes.
car from pulling in. That's what I believe Bob's referring to.
Correct, that curb cut on the south side of the
Yeah.
property.
Yes.
Yes, yep, absolutely, that they can be replanted at the proper spacing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And the yellow area that you have, the restoration area, those are all natives, correct?
Everything is native that's proposed to be restored in this area.
Okay.
Yes.
And in the green area, the natives go right to the property line, correct? Towards the wetland?
They do, actually, yes. So the wetland is located off of the property, so we're proposing to plant right up to the property line, and that green area is showing that.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a wonderful project that you're gonna be removing all those invasives and replanting with natives. When I lived on Northgate Road, back in my 20s, I looked out the window and there were some deer in the woods backing up to that area, so I know there are deer in that area. Correct? Yes. Yeah.
And turkey.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful, ecosystem in that area. Okay, that's about all I had for now. Thank you.
I think I missed Evelyn Smith had a question over the.
Sounds like she did.
She wants to know if we're doctors.
Sorry, I didn't realize my mic was on. I was looking, there was a previous permit and I thought it was this one, so I was just trying to look through the file. It has a COC issue that shows the garage and the shell drive. And it has a COC, so I looked into that, it has a COC, so there's.
Regarding the shower, but I think Bob was referring to the shower behind the cottage, not behind the garage.
Yeah, I
So
misspoke. It's
I
behind
do
the
have-
cottage.
I do have one comment on that. In some other towns, as you go further toward P-Town, they require a stone drainage layer below showers, but then they also require a 6-inch of wood chip layer below the stone, which actually ends up removing some of the material, some of the things that might get
Contaminants,
used in a
yeah.
rinse station.
The things that are not supposed to be used in the outdoor shower.
Exactly, and would it be, we obviously have to continue this, so I could add it to the plan and perhaps show a proposed note to make it be a little bit more environmentally friendly?
Yeah, we have to deal with it, obviously, one way or another. We have to either make it legitimate or improve it or, other things that we don't want to talk about
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
But
I'll give it my best shot when I come back in.
Because it's in the NDZ, our requirements are typically no soaps, shampoos, et cetera. So anything that goes in, out of the shower should be water, and that's the only thing that should go into the resource area. That solves that problem.
That said, I like the idea of more layers providing filtration,
Just in case.
just in case, because, you know,
People forget.
yeah, unless you have monitor what people are doing in the shower, and nobody wants to go there.
Yeah, we're thinking about starting a shower police division.
With drones, you know, we can just.
Good luck with that.
I have a question for Teresa. So Teresa, love this. Recognize that it's and to the Holloway sitting there, it's a challenge to do this kind of a restoration. The Mow strips will provide some access to the north and south. Is the western boundary line, the property line, is that also adjacent, is that heavily invaded across that property line?
Not as we find in these areas, once we move into the wetland resource area themselves, the invasive vegetation really thins out, and it moves into a more native plant community. So there, as we get to the west and to the north, into that red maple, black tupelo swamp plant community, we have far fewer invasive plant species. So it's really those kind of disturbed areas along the edges that we're really seeing the invasive vegetation.
That's interesting. So in your professional opinion, would that possibly be explained? I mean, do the invasives not do well in hydric soil and with very wet conditions? Do they prefer something drier than that? Might that be it?
I think there's probably a mix. I mean, I think a lot of the invasive vegetation that we see in these areas like bittersweet, porcelainberry, et cetera, they were planted here as ornamentals and then kind of escaped into the buffer zones and surrounding resource areas. I also think that once we get into the wetland resource areas themselves, and actually this has occurred also on Black Duck Landing in the last hearing that I was in with you here in Chatham. Once we get in deep into those wetland resource areas, that native plant community seems to be thick enough. And yes, it could have to do with the hydrology. There could definitely be something related to that that's preventing the invasive vegetation from really getting a foothold and outcompeting the native species in those wetland resource areas. It could also just be a matter of this area having been disturbed for a long period of time, and people not going into the wetland resource areas themselves and disturbing those resource areas because they are so wet. So it could be a mix of those factors.
Okay, thank you. It provides some comfort. You know, sometimes the invasives are so thick, we can't get through it or see through it to see into the wetland itself. And, you know, we're suspicious, we think, oh my God, it goes all the way through into the wetland. But it's starting to become apparent that maybe that's not always the case and that the wetland is in better shape than the buffer zones.
That's been my experience, and even in doing delineations, when we get into the wetland resource area, we may have to fight our way through a thicket of multiflora rose and all kinds of things we wish we didn't have to crawl through. And then when we get to the actual edge of wetland resource area, we find it it quickly transitions into wetland vegetation, native wetland vegetation.
Interesting, good to know. One other question for David. Hi, David. There was a reference, and I can't find it again, but somewhere in the narrative, there was a reference to some regrading.
Yes.
Is that for the installation of the pool, and is that a retaining wall?
So if you went, hi Evelyn, if you went to the site, there is a small hand thrown retaining wall.
Yes.
That changes grade. That's going to be removed, and so it's just, the slope is gently going to be regraded, very minor. No drainage issues or anything like that.
And the excavation of the pool will provide whatever fill you might need to do any regrading?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that a retaining wall? Are you going to have a retaining wall at the?
No,
No, okay.
It's going to be leveled at the pool, and then it's just going to drop off gently.
Okay,
Approximately a 6-to-1 slope,
okay, great. Thank you.
or 4-to-1. 4-to-1 slope, excuse me.
Got another one, Bob?
I got one small thing, David. The drainage for the patios, the existing and the new, how will those drain? I know they're going to be pervious, but.
So I have the opportunity to revise this to come back to the next hearing. I'm going to show trench drains at the edge connected to dry wells. So obviously, even pervious patios over time, So we're going to propose trench drains connected to dry wells to accommodate that.
And where the drainage empties out, it's going to be farther away from the NDZ?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We'll try and put it as close to the 100-foot buffer as we can, but you can't quite get outside of it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I have a question you may not know the answer to, either one of you. I think Nikki alluded to the fact, I had asked and she looked to see that that the cottage and the garage and driveway in the NDZ were licensed, and the answer was yes, I believe, Nikki. Was there mitigation for those? Are we overlapping existing mitigation in any way with this project?
My only experience with this was with the prior owners. I represented them for a swimming pool in a different location several years ago that was approved.
But not built.
But not built, and there was mitigation associated with that, but that project never went forward. Prior
Okay.
to that, I don't know what to tell you.
Right, no one knows. Okay. All right.
But yeah, on that approved plan, it did show the garage, the pergola, the driveway, and then that plan did get a certificate of compliance.
Yeah, I just,
Remember that.
it's just that
Regardless of the pool.
it was a while ago, and then what we had noticed sometimes is that mitigation disappears from memory, and I don't know. The cottage, though, just to be sure, the cottage was licensed, Nikki?
Oh, the cottage has been there for
Forever?
a long, I worked for the Gregorians 25 years ago that used to own this property,
Okay.
and the cottage and the garage were there then.
Oh, I
I
see.
suspect they were there prior to the Conservation Commission getting,
Okay, all right. We've been around a long time now, but, okay,
I have been around a long time.
okay.
Other than the changes proposed, the site plan matches any past site plans I have looked
Yeah,
up.
yeah, I was just focusing on mitigation for those projects, that's all.
Well, I would hope that this robust plan would
But,
certainly,
yeah, it kind of, even if it was there and gone, this essentially replaces it, because you're taking up every square inch with mitigation that you can, which is good. All right, I just like to dot i's, that's all, for the record. So we just have a few things that you're gonna come back.
I'd like to come back at the soonest meeting possible. I can get revised plans over to Nikki early next week.
Yeah, what say you, Nikki, in terms of our schedule?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I apologize. My apparently deathly ill RSV child
Yeah.
has recovered.
Yes.
Oh. That's the way it goes, yeah.
So
He doesn't want a nap.
No, it's clearly nap time. So 11:02 is our work session, 11:09 is the next hearing, and then 11:16 is that,
Could we shoot
Special.
for 11:09? Because I've got to trail down the DEP lockbox issue.
yeah, that works for me. If we could do 11:09 and then we could do 11:16 for the actual order, I think.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we continue 641 Kroll Road to November 9th, 2022.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Bob,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next order of conditions is 16 Scallop Terrace, Susan Hamill, map 16A, parcel 28C H14F SE 103589, raise and replace a single family dwelling.
Good afternoon, David
that's
Little.
not you, okay.
David Little
He's still here.
representing Susan Hamill. I went to the site just prior to the meeting to take another look at it, and you almost needed a boat to get
I was
there.
going to say, you ventured out there on this day.
I did.
Very brave.
So I'll just preface this by saying, similar to many other homes in this area that have been before the commission, the applicants are proposing to elevate the house above the flood zone. As you're aware, that code says that if you invest more than 50% of the assessed or appraised value back into the structure, you have to make it FEMA compliant. And these days, it doesn't take much to trigger that. And so we've prepared a plan with a house that is slightly different in configuration, but it is exactly the same size. So there is no increase in building coverage, but we've made the footprint of the upper story a little more workable for the Hamills. We've included a side-by-side plan so you can see existing versus proposed. The concrete patio on the north side is going to go away. There will be a new deck, an elevated deck with a stairway to get up to it. Above what was the concrete patio, and that area below the deck, we are proposing to restore with a fescue type lawn. We do show another stairway on the front of the house going to steppers that go out to the street. This is required because the building code requires 2 means of egress to the dwelling. It's going to be raised 7.45 feet, existing finished floor to new finished floor. So it's going up similar to what the more recent homes have gone up since the new flood zones were adopted in 2014. The limit of work is essentially going to be the property line. It's a flat lot. We will install a fabric silt fence along that. And as you can see, we have a very small area within which to work. So demolition will occur by tearing it down and placing it directly into trucks and removing it from the site and bringing construction materials onto the site as needed. I addressed the performance standards for land subject to coastal storm flowage in my narrative. I think it complies with that, and we show a slight improvement in as much as we are proposing a 30 square foot reduction in hardscape. One of the things I've proposed here, and I noted in the in my narrative, or I noted somewhere, is I'm proposing that the entire lawn here be replaced with a colonial seed harmony mix. I've been doing that slowly on my own yard over the past few years, and it's just remarkable how once it's established, it doesn't require watering, and it creates a good understory of area that you might only have to mow 3 times a year. It's a postage stamp of a lot, so I haven't really proposed any woody shrubs for native vegetation or for wildlife and things like that, because there's really hardly any area to do so. Bill Litchfield will be presenting this before the Zoning Board of Appeals in the near future. We do not have a date yet. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone want to start on this? Okay, Karen.
Cheryl has her hand up.
Cheryl does. Okay, Cheryl.
I just have a quick comment that the project narrative has the wrong address on it. It has it as 10 Scarlet Terrace instead of 16. So
He
if we can
submitted
just-
a revised one,
Oh, okay.
so there's a little bit of confusion. So I double checked and made sure that the agenda was correct over 48 48 hours in advance, and everything else has the proper address. It was just the labeling of the narrative. So
Thank you
that's
very
been
much.
resolved.
I always like to include something to see if people are on their toes, Cheryl.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl.
I'm all set.
All right. Karen?
Any chance that you'd consider changing the paved driveway to something that's pervious, stones, shells, something like that, since you're doing all this work and it probably will get messed up anyway?
I can ask the neighbor. It's on his property.
Oh, it is?
Um,
Oh. Okay.
We do have, the ability to, so it's something that I can bring up with the neighbor and the owner to see if that's something that might be
I didn't realize
feasible.
that was the property
I don't
line.
know the legality behind it right
Yeah,
now.
no, I didn't realize that was where the
So
property
the
line
property
was.
does not
Just that.
have a driveway.
No, they park at the end of the road.
I see.
Yeah, there was a car parked there yesterday, but
Okay.
I thought they also had the driveway.
It's a 2,500 square foot lot. That's the size of many
Yeah.
houses that you see come before
Yeah.
this board.
Yep.
Okay. That was my one.
Okay. Yeah, I had the same question, so I guess that answers that to some degree.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is this property is on the sewer system?
It's,
Does not have a septic
it
system?
does not have a septic on the property, that's correct.
That's so funny, because when we did 8 Scallop Terrace, we had a lot of back and forth about the installation of the septic system. It's the
I
house at
believe
the
it's,
end of the
I
street
believe
is
it's a
not.
shared, it's a shared system,
Uh-huh.
but it is not located on this property.
And but it's not connected to town sewer. I don't think town sewer runs out in this neighborhood.
I don't know the answer to that, Janet.
Okay.
There is no septic on this property. That's all you-
Well, there are 2 sewer manholes, if you'll notice, right on
Yeah.
the north property line,
Okay.
that the effluent does go into, but then it leaves our site.
Right.
This is going before the ZBA, and I'm sure Judy Giorgio will be addressing that.
Yeah, because it also seemed to me, looking at it, that the property just over that north boundary line
Big retaining
appears
wall.
to be, yeah, but there's also a lot of, it appears to be a wetland. But that is not, it wasn't marked on here, and it wasn't marked on any of the others that I could see, so I wasn't sure whether anybody had ever delineated it and identified it as a wetland. There's a wetland on the south side, we know, across the road, but I was trying to understand whether there's a wetland on the north side as well. But if there's, it's worth looking at, because if there's a private sewer system going into some kind of underground treatment, its proximity to that area might be something we need to know.
Mass GIS did not, the most recent Mass GIS map that I pulled up did not show any wetlands
Yeah,
in that area. It may be wet, because it's wet everywhere down
well,
there.
yeah, it's mostly underwater. Yeah, but if you could check into where those manholes go and what the
And I'll-
treatments, where the treatment system is, that would be very helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Other than that, yeah, I only had a question about, can you go back to the mix that you're going with? What, is that a
It's Colonial Seed Harmony Mix,
colonial seed, huh? Yeah. that's
and
a-
it's
is it a-
similar to what Teresa proposes. It has 3 or 4 fescues in it. It also has one other type of grass, and it's just remarkable. It's not cheap, though. A bag like this costs $70.
Yeah, but it saves in the long run over not having to use.
It really works well.
So, but because the property's in the coastal floodplain, I was wondering what you are thinking about for landscaping beyond that, for
I wasn't
foundation
going to propose anything, and
Just harmony.
Well, no, I know, but if they're going to, just, if there's anything going in there, any kind of ornamentals, they just need to be natives, because they're going into the
Of course.
floodplain. Okay. There'll be something in the order that says that generally. Put them on notice that.
I do think this is the first project we've seen where 0 vegetation will be planted except for seed mix.
Well,
Well, there's a,
you don't have to worry, I'm retiring soon.
no.
Sorry to hear that. Okay, anybody else?
I just had one quick thing, David. So when this property is going to be raised, the property line to property line is going to be excavated, and all the invasives will be removed, correct? Because there are
Yes.
some invasives right now on the
Yes,
property.
but there's one bush that,
Privet, yeah.
yes, that is within the property lines right now.
Yeah. And there's some bittersweet as well, so I was just curious about that. And that abuts the Chatham Conservation Foundation land?
Yes, it does.
On the north side. And there are some invasives in there actually too. But that was just a, and could we make sure that there's no permanent irrigation being proposed on this site?
By all
or
means.
installed on this site, because we've, actually on the same street, we saw an application, and we went by and we noticed that there is irrigation with a lush lawn right now, so.
It was supposed to be a fescue or something, but it's, so this is why we're sort of focusing on it. Since you're such a fan of the Harmony, I'm sure you'll put it in.
Well, I'll see that it's done, and you can get it at Agway. It's a great product, really is.
Yeah, you sold me, yeah.
And I think those are native fescues too, aren't they?
They are, yes, they are.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I had. If we could put that on the plan somewhere, no permanent irrigation, that would be helpful. Thank you.
So I think we've dissected this one as much as we can. It's a simple project. So when would you like to, you're going to come back with a few minor changes,
So,
but
I'm going to provide you with information regarding the septic system
yeah,
and nothing else.
more or less, yeah, I think that's right.
I think we're good, and I can get a letter over next week.
Right, so I think we're in position. What kind of hurry are you in?
We're in no hurry. Bill hasn't even applied to ZBA
Oh, I
yet.
see, all right.
So
Well, that gives us-
whatever works with your schedule is
Okay,
fine with
Nikki,
us.
you have latitude here for,
So I'm going to ask for December 7th, if that's fine with David.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's for the
So
work
that would
session.
be, yeah, the work session for December 7th, so you have well over a month to get any changes, and then we'll at least have a zoning date as well.
Nikki, could we possibly put it in a hearing, just in case we have any questions about the septic?
Sure.
You never know.
So that would be that extra one that we have for November 16th.
16th.
Because
Yeah, why don't we
we are not
schedule
meeting
that,
on the-
just to make sure that we haven't have it, that we understand it, because I don't think any of us have seen
And
this before.
I'll be very brief on the 15th or 16th, whenever it is.
Appreciate that.
All right, so the November 16th, with plans to have it on 12/7 work session. but
we had,
I mean, obviously we'll see.
I see Mr. Litchfield's hand is up.
Just very briefly, Mr. Chairman, Bill Litchfield, as David has said, I'm representing the applicant of the Zoning Board of Appeals. It will in all likelihood, given their workload, not be heard until December 17, so you have plenty of time.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I think we're November 16th for now.
Okay, I move to continue 16 Scallop Terrace to November 16th, 2022.
Latin second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
I vote aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, see you then. I'm trying to figure out whether we should take a break. Would like a break? I mean, we're getting pretty close, but we've been here for almost 2 hours, so maybe until, just come back at 3? Was that good for everyone? All right, good, thank you. Cheryl and Mary and Nikki. We are online. We're on the air. Okay, all right.
Very good.
Mary's, you're here, okay,
Yes, I'm here.
okay.
Cheryl too.
All right, and now we just need Nikki. Nikki may be dealing with something. Where are we? This is for,
105 Orleans. Well, maybe Evelyn can sit in.
yes, 105 Orleans, okay. I think,
Nope, sorry, I'm here.
Okay, all right, good.
105 Orleans Road, Jesse. Oh, we're ready to go?
Hang on.
105 Orleans Road, Jesse Carlton, map 15H, parcel 2L2, SC103571, raise and replace of existing second level deck with a new covered porch and deck areas, construction of new retaining walls, pervious patio, and driveway expansion.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. My name is Dan Ojala. I'm both a professional engineer and a professional land surveyor out of Downkeep Engineering in Yarmouthport. And helping the owners here out on Orleans Road with some redevelopment in addition of a little pervious patio. We had a good meeting, initial meeting on this. You may recall there was a couple of items that were requested of us. We finally did get those submitted and are here. I'll just buzz through them quickly. One of the things we looked at was trying to knock the wildflower mix down a little bit, increase the number of shrubs. So we went from 1307 down to 935 on the wildflower. We also located a couple of trees on the site that were existing. He was a little bit concerned about the woody growth, and so we showed some trees that were there to be retained that we hadn't had on the original plan. So you can see there's one, a good sized one on the west and a smaller one on the east. You had us increase the size of the plants, so we bumped up, for instance, the blueberries from 1 gallon to 2 gallon, or number twos as the nursery are required to call them now. So again, and then it was also a request to add a trees. So down by the shed, you can see we put in a dogwood, a flowering dogwood down there. That'll be a nice addition, we think, to the buffer, to the wetland to the south. And again, we added a bunch of woody plants. It's pretty shady over in the west, so I think it was a great call to knock down the wildflower meadows, which need pretty much full sun. And so we introduced a bunch of sweet pepper bush, which does very well in a semi-shady environment over there, and will create a nice natural habitat to that wetland, which is on the south. The other request, I think, the only other request was to demarcate the edge of the delineation. And so you can see in the area that didn't have that small retaining wall, which can remain, it's wood or stone mitigation demarcation called out for that last 20 feet there on the east side. We do have to go to the zoning board. We're taking the shed that's right down by the wetland and moving it up, but the owner would really like to have it close to the lot line. So we will have a trip to the ZBA, but wanted to make sure you folks were happy with this first. I think we've addressed all the items that you had, and I'd certainly be glad to answer any questions if you do have them. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, you did, I think, address at least the items that were in my notes. I was still a little, I'm traditionally not a big fan of the wildflower mixed approach to mitigation. However, I'm looking at the description in your application for what's in that mix, and it's a pretty healthy mixture of what I would consider to be sort of small shrubby plants, if they take and if they grow. So I feel a little better about it than I would have otherwise. And I do think they'll probably provide some habitat and a mixture of food source, not just for pollinators. So that was my concern. That's my sort of normal concern with a wildflower mix approach to mitigation. But this particular mix, I think, is better than some that I've seen, at least
Excellent,
as
thank
far
you.
as I'm concerned. Anyone else?
I just had a couple of questions on the rinse station and the pervious patio. How will they be drained?
So the pervious patio is almost dead flat, and by design, that takes the water and infiltrates it right between the cracks on the patio. So it would go down into the pervious base on that. And any rinse station similarly would have a gravel base into the sandy soils below. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I would just note with that, with regard to that pervious patio, that they function well so long as they are properly maintained. And so the order will have some maintenance requirements about making sure that the joint areas are kept clear and vacuumed regularly so that, otherwise it turns impervious, so.
Yeah, especially when you're salting the roads and sanding and so forth.
Yep.
But here, yeah, that'll be very adequate, a little bit of vacuuming, sure.
Okay.
And on that note, we have a standard section on outdoor showers, talking about the sorts of ways it should and should not be used, so.
Yeah, rinse stations, right?
Rinse stations, yes.
That's a plumbing code term of art, yeah.
Yes. All right. You hear anything else? We're all good? All right, I think we are good. Nikki, what do we have in terms of availability?
Again, like last meeting, it's
Full.
push it off or do it now type of thing. So, I don't have a full list right in front of me for what exactly we have. 11-9 is definitely getting pretty full.
We need a work session.
I think we're going to a work session, yeah. You say,
Yeah,
you still
so-
have to go to zoning as well, right? And
Yeah, so we're not, yeah, so that would be fine, a few weeks out, whatever, the works.
It's
If you can craft an
flexible.
order and sign it, then it's not gonna hold us up at all. Thank you.
Do you think 12 was the first one in December would be okay? 'Cause I
Yeah.
know zoning's pretty far out.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, I don't believe we've filed with zoning yet, and I imagine that would be fine. And as long as they know you've got an affirmative vote here and it's pending, I think we're fine, if that's how you.
Yeah, so Sarah always asks for where it stands with us, so I can say we're just waiting to approve the final permit, pending no changes from zoning requirements. So that would be December 7th.
All right, and is that also a work session, so I shouldn't have to attend? Is that, all right, excellent, thank you.
you don't have
Yeah.
to, but
So
I can do remote.
just make sure you read the order of conditions beforehand, and if you have any questions, let me know, and then you can attend or not if you have no suggestions.
All right.
But always be advised that the commissioners may have some changes.
Fair enough, yeah, I'll tune in on the 7th to make sure, just in case, thank you.
all right, thank you.
I move that we continue 105 Orleans Road to the work session on December 7th, 2022 for an order of conditions.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you for your
See
time.
then.
Great, the next order of conditions is for 101 Oyster Pond Furlong. Edward Scopus, map 13E, parcel 25R24, SE 103586. Single family house remodel, front porch entry addition, second floor addition, new walkway, patio, basement access, bulkhead, convert paved driveway to stone and shell driveway, remove existing shed, and add native plants to existing grass yard.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of the applicant. With me is Dan Croto of Moran Engineering, and I think the homeowner, Ed Scopus, may be on the line as well. This is, as you know, both from the legal ad and from having been out there, some changes to a long developed lot on Oyster Pond Furlong. Almost all of the lot, actually all of the lot, is within 200 feet of a stream, and approximately half of the lot is within 100 feet of the BVW. Most of the work proposed is interior remodeling of the house, but what is proposed, I think, is a useful thing, which is some mitigation as indicated in the narrative that Dan provided. We are removing the paved driveway within the no disturb zone. We will also be doing 642 square feet of native planting in place of the existing lawn. 600 square feet of driveway is to be replaced with a stone and shell driveway. Most importantly, because of the proximity to the stream on the far side of Oyster Pond Furlong, which leads down to the Oyster Pond, we will also be installing dry wells to deal with the roof and stormwater runoff. That is an improvement which I think will help the yard, help the neighborhood, and help Oyster Pond ultimately. So it's a fairly simple change. Listening to some of your prior hearings, I can't say like my friend David Little did that I'm about to retire, but I think that we could do some of the things that were suggested there. We don't need to put a notation on the plan that we know permanent irrigation, because I've already discussed that with Mr. Scopus. He's aware of it, and that would be in your order. So all of the work, as you know, is across the street from the paved road. The property itself has been developed since the early 1950s. The only change, and Nikki is aware of this, the only change is that in the southwest corner of the lot, instead of the roses to be planted under the maple tree, we're instead proposing 7 phlox. So that is essentially our presentation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Litchfield. Opening it up to anyone. Bob?
Hi. I got a few questions. The driveway, that's going to be removed, the paved driveway, which is a good thing.
Correct.
Is that going to have a paved apron up against the street?
I'm not aware of paving. I've often seen granite pavers used instead of that, but I think there's going to be a lot less water running out for 2 reasons. One, we're going to have the dry well from the roof, and secondly, it's going to be a pervious rather than impervious surface. Dan, do you know if there are plans for a berm of sorts at the end?
Yes, the plan, as I had in the proposed conditions, though it's hard to see, was to keep a 5-foot paved apron, which came to about the lot line. So it's hard to see that paved apron line. So the numbers, the mitigation numbers or the removal numbers shown on the plan do not include the 5-foot paved apron or 2 feet off the garage, a concrete apron up there.
Okay,
terrific. We would retain aprons.
Yeah. Okay, and the other question I had was the shed's going to be removed. The maple tree up near the street, along the banking where the mitigation is proposed, is in decline. It's an invasive tree, and it's in decline. The center of it is dying back. I'm just wondering when the house is, when the construction on the house is taking place, whether if that tree could be cut down and then the stump be excavated, and then a new native tree be planted in that location to frame the house. I realize that's the reason why you want to leave that tree there is to kind of frame the house as well. But that tree it's only going to be a matter of time before it dies, and then that mitigation area will be disturbed.
We can talk with the homeowner about that. I suppose it's true for all of us that it's just a matter of time until we enter our decline, but we can talk with Mr. Scopus and see what he would be willing to do.
Okay, thank you. And that's all I had for now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, it's not often the commissioner asks for a tree to come out, so that's a new one. Did you have something? Okay. The only, you're seeing no hands, the only potential quibble I have, and I think this is a pretty straightforward project, is that the three plants that are chosen for mitigation, two of them are, well, first of all, it's not a very diverse plan, and two of them are ground covers, essentially. And I was just wondering if there's any possibility to, it doesn't really provide any habitat, it doesn't provide any, a more diverse planting scheme would be welcome, is guess what I'm saying, if that were possible.
Again, we can consult with the homeowner and see what might be possible.
Something with more diversity in terms of flowering, seeds that are produced, habitat locations, things like that.
Have a good one.
This,
So I will say he came in to visit me in the office just to see if I had any comments before the hearing, and what he had chosen around the tree was more shrub-like, and then he changed it from the Rosa to the phlox because of shading issues that I thought they might have. So he chose something else. So that's probably why that's more of a ground cover for the phlox. The other two, I'm not sure what his preference was for those.
Okay, well, it sounds like they'll discuss it and see if any changes are in order. It just looks a bit almost like a monoculture to me. Anything else? Oh.
Well, I just think that if they consider the question of maybe removing the maple tree in decline, it would give them an opportunity to perhaps rethink what they're doing there, because it would be a different design, so all comes together.
Yeah, as Nikki said, the change was because of the existence of the maple tree. So
Right.
there may be some, some further changes if Mr. Scopus is willing to remove the maple tree. And we appreciate the chair's comment about the unusual nature of the request. Nonetheless, we understand the reason for it.
Right, well, I mean, I don't think that Bob meant that as it was just a question, and I don't think you're saying we were requiring that the tree come out for.
No, I think it'd be a great opportunity to do it. I mean, the house is going to be,
Sure.
Worked on, and it's going to be of greater value. And at the same time, I think the landscaping could be worked on, so that is improved as well at the same time. It'd be a good time to do it.
We understand.
I think the landscaping, just to be clear, the landscape plan was the owners came up with that themselves after looking at the list. If I think what Commissioner was saying, that the tree looks like it's failing, then the owners, that is a discussion, I guess, that they that may persuade them certainly to take the tree down, knowing that the tree's, imminent to come down on its own. So, but we will go back we were hoping that the owner who drew this was on the meeting with us, but he was traveling, so I guess he isn't able to come in and talk about the plans.
I'm sorry, this is Ed Scopus. Can you hear me okay?
Hi.
Hi, yes, I'm on. I'm actually at the airport. Just to make a couple comments. I wasn't aware that the maple is in distress. I know the cedar next to it. Nikki, when we walked the lot, I think we talked about that cedar that's right next to the maple that I know appears to be in distress. But I wasn't aware that the maple was in distress. So is it possible that we have the two mixed up, those two trees?
Well, in either case, I think if you just have a look and have a think about whether that appears to be your perception of one of the trees, whether it's something you want to do about it at this stage.
Yeah, and I'm very happy to bring in an arborist and have them consult with us to tell us, whether the maple is in good shape and it's the cedar that's the problem, because they butt up right against one another, and the cedar definitely has some issues. Okay, all right, thank you. I will say one other item that I didn't mention. I think this is the mitigation area would benefit from some sort of demarcation. I don't know if your plan includes it. I don't think it does. And by that, we often mean, something that lets landscapers know that that is an area not to be touched. So they can consist either of a small stockade type fence, single row fence, or stones along boundary or something, just to denote that that is a special area, and also serves to warn future owners that that's a special area and should not be converted to lawn, et cetera. It's a mitigation area. Yeah, I'm happy to do whatever might be necessary there. I do know that the town restricts the use of any kind of boulders or stones within a certain number of feet of the road. And where you see the junipers, the lot slopes down there, and that's where it's currently all the existing lawn in that area. So, whatever makes sense to ensure that, folks know that. I don't know if that means a little sign, or I'm not sure what, but I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the setback requirements, but I'm thinking little stones perhaps might not be an issue, that you have them sort of delineating the border of the mitigation. Maybe that would be okay. I don't know, though.
And I can discuss, Mr. Chairman, I can discuss, Bill Litchfield, with Mr. Scopus, the fact that the issue is largely separating the remaining lawn from the mitigation area, so there shouldn't be a problem in that regard.
Right, okay, thank you. All right, I don't hear any other issues or questions, so I guess the question now is whether or not we can go to whether we need another hearing to discuss this. It sounds like
Yes.
perhaps we do, yeah. So Nikki, what do we have?
So
The answer
I
could be
would
nothing.
suggest maybe the 1116 one.
Okay.
We could perhaps.
I mean, I don't
apply
think we don't have any crazy major issues or anything with the actual project. It's just clearing some stuff up. So I think 1116 and then 12.7 would probably get the order of conditions done.
Right.
That would be fine. Just for your own reference, Nikki, we're going to ZBA on November 17, so that would work in terms of your comments to them.
Okay, yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay.
I'll move that we continue 101 Oyster Pond Furlong to November 16th, 2022.
Latin second.
Roll call vote. Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you then.
Thanks.
All right, the next notice of intent is 55 Countryside Drive, Monica Lucier, map 61, parcel 6 in 5, SE, that one also did not have an SE number when I looked yesterday. Septic upgrade.
Yes, do we have anyone here for 55 Countryside?
Yes, my name is Mike Pimentel. Unfortunately, I'm just on a phone call, not the video, because I wasn't able to log in and
Yeah,
had a problem with.
That may have been our fault, so I'm glad you were able to get in one way or another.
Yeah, so everybody can hear me okay, though?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, great. So again, my name is Mike Pimentel. I'm with JC Engineering, the engineer for this project. It is just a simple septic system upgrade. It's located at 55 Countryside Drive. And what we have for existing conditions of the property, starting from the south end of the lot, is we have a salt marsh, and it's on Muddy Creek. We also have a flood zone, land subject to coastal storm flowage down in the back of the property, and then finally a coastal bank just slightly up gradient from the flood zone line, elevation 11. So our closest resource area to all this work is our coastal bank. What we have currently in the ground is an existing septic tank with a leaching pit that's primarily in the paved driveway, just on the east side of the house. The leaching pit is approximately 46 feet away from the coastal bank. The septic tank is approximately 49 feet away from the coastal bank. So what we're proposing to do is fill in the existing leaching pit and abandon it and put in a new pump chamber, generally in the same location as the leaching pit, which would be completely within the paved driveway. And then pumping up the sewage up the driveway as much as possible to an area in the front of the property. It's extremely steep, this property. From the road down to the house is probably a 20-foot drop. So it's rather steep. So, but the top of the property, the front end of the property, is really the only location where we could put the leaching system so that it's at least 100 feet away from A, the salt marsh, and B, the coastal bank. So that leaching system would be completely outside the buffer zone to those resource areas. Let's see, we're proposing erosion control down at the bottom of the driveway to prevent any type of erosion going down to the wetlands. We are going to be going in front of the Board of Health, I believe in a week or two, to seek approval for the leaching system because we are because we had to tuck it in as close to the front property line as much as possible. We're asking for a variance to that front property line with my leaching system. And also because of the grade differential, the leaching system is going to be deep in the ground. So we'll be needing to ask for a variance for cover over the leaching system. I think this project is a tremendous improvement to what's there now because the leaching pit is extremely close to the coastal bank, and our leaching system that we're proposing is at least 100 feet away from it. And also, we're providing greater separation to groundwater by putting a leaching system all the way up in the upper part of the property. So with that, I would take any questions that the commission might have and go from there.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll just ask a quick question. Where the new leaching, leaching chambers, the 6 leaching chamber apparatus is going, that's where some trees are trees having to come out for that?
Correct, yeah. The majority of the trees in that area, sir, are going to be anywhere between, let's say, 2 to 10 inches in diameter. That particular area is outside the 30-foot buffer zone.
Oh, I see, yeah, it is. You're right. I didn't, yeah, it's outside of our jurisdiction. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, 75% of the work is literally within the asphalt driveway. The only portion that's not within the paved driveway is the leaching system, but that leaching system is greater than 100 feet from the coastal bank. But I do want to mention too, we are in the riverfront, but we're exempt from the requirements of being within a riverfront because this is simply an upgrade. But the coastal bank offset line is, the 100-foot coastal bank offset line is up on the upper part of the property, and our leaching system is just on the north side of there.
Yeah, I see
No
that now.
trees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. All right, anyone else?
Hi, there's, where the existing septic tank is, you're going to reuse that, correct?
That's correct. We're going to keep the existing tank and simply run a pipe from that tank into the new pump chamber.
So you don't, there's an oak tree at the base of that driveway with a pink ribbon around it. You're not planning to remove that, are you?
Is that the one that we note as a benchmark being set there?
I believe so.
Yeah, no, that shouldn't have to be removed. It's probably, I'm in my AutoCAD drawing here, it's probably a good 10 feet away from the pump chamber that we're proposing, and maybe say 7 or 8 feet away from the septic line from the existing tank to the new pump chamber. So that shouldn't have to be removed. Now, should the contractor go out there and determine that, hey, I can't feasibly put in this line in this pump chamber with that tree in the way, we can certainly come back to the agent and ask what the recourse would be for that. But I don't anticipate or expect that tree to be removed as part of this project.
Okay, will you put some protection around that tree, just so the contractor understands that can, that has to be protected?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have a conversation with him, and we'll put some type of demarcation around it so they know to protect it.
Okay, and the other question I had was, that is a steep driveway. Matter of fact, a friend of mine lived there. He's since passed away. But the runoff from the driveway, where does that go? Does it drain towards the NDZ, or does it kind of go off to the east?
No, I believe it simply goes south towards the coastal bank.
Yeah, you're not planning to excavate the driveway that much to change the drainage?
Change drainage pattern? The drainage pattern won't change under this proposal.
Right.
Yeah, no, the drainage pattern will remain exactly the same. So we won't be, say, directing runoff towards the neighbors or anything like that. It's simply we're gonna keep the existing grades of the driveway and simply just remove and replace in kind.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
Karen, you look like you might be wanting to ask.
Yeah, and I don't know how all this works, I'm not at all a septic expert. When you are digging from the septic tank to go to the leaching chambers, I mean, obviously there will be, you have to dig up all the property, correct? Going up to put that pipe?
Correct, yeah, there'll be a trench that the contractor will dig from the pump chamber going towards the leaching system out front, correct?
So what I saw was a huge amount of IV, et cetera, there. Is there any chance that something can be done to remove some of that at least? I mean, it's really thick, I can't imagine. What are you going to put in on top after you bury the pipe?
Is the pipe going in the driveway?
Is
The
it?
pipe's going in the driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Oh,
pipe is
yeah.
completely
Okay.
within the driveway.
I didn't catch on
Like I
to
said,
that part.
75% of this project is all within the driveway.
Okay.
The only thing that's not is the leaching system up front, and that leaching system is greater than 100 feet from the
Yeah,
bank.
no, I caught that part. I just didn't catch that it wasn't going to go through any of the property and just the driveway. So thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just one more thing about the tree that Bob brought up. Is that the tree with a pink ribbon around? Okay, all right, yeah. Normally, a pink ribbon to us means that tree is coming down. That's why we're focusing on it.
Are you saying that there was a pink ribbon around a tree up by the road, or
No, down the driveway.
down the driveway, at the end of the driveway near the
Yes.
existing tank and leaching pit?
I think so, yeah.
That could have been our survey crew simply just putting a ribbon around that tree that they set a benchmark on, so people can easily identify where the benchmark tree is located.
Okay. I don't know what a benchmark tree is, but that's fine, as long as it's not slated for removal. That's really all I was interested in knowing.
No, we did not mark any trees to be removed on the property. We just simply, we color-coded our stakeout of the limit of work, the pump chamber, the leaching, all the items that are required for your site visit, but no trees were marked to be taken down.
Okay, good. We're
From
clear.
our office.
We're clear on that. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. Doesn't sound like we have any objections. We're just watching out for that tree.
All right, the only thing we have to wait for is the Board of Health.
We do have to wait,
for their
yeah.
permit.
And when is that again? Board of Health?
I want to say it's in a couple of weeks. See here. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. I can't seem to find their schedule readily here, but yeah, we have a meeting. It's probably going to be November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, probably the first week of November. But we don't have a DEP file number for this. So how does that work? If we get the DEP file number in time for your next meeting, which is on November, what is it, the 9th, is it?
That's full. 16th for the.
Our work
work
session is November 2nd, but I think we're a little full for that one at this point. November 9th is a regular meeting if we continue because someone wants to see a site plan or, revisions. And then we added, because we've gotten kind of booked, we added a meeting for November 16th as kind of like a second work session.
Okay.
I know health is not meeting next week, so.
Then I would suggest we go for the 16th to give them enough time and make sure we get the number, you get the number from DEP. That sounds about right.
That, yeah, 16th sounds like a good one from our perspective. I don't know if that works for you.
Well, I don't believe there are any changes that I got to revise the plan, so it's simply just waiting for DEP file number, correct?
And the Board of Health.
Yes, and
And the Board of Health.
yeah.
No, and the Board of Health, but as far as your meeting on the 16th, that's simply just to get the DEP approval letter and then your official approval, and then by that time we will hopefully have gotten approval from the Board of Health.
Right.
Okay.
Correct, yes.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
All right, very good.
Make a motion that we continue 55 Countryside Drive to an order of conditions on 11/16/2022.
Latin second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
And I vote aye. See you then.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, so we're done with the notices of intent. Now we're on to the certificates of compliance. 77 Old Wharf Road, Richard and Caroline Smith, map 16I, parcel H3 and H5, SE10 2783, pruning and maintenance of vegetation. They have an automatic extension because of COVID to 7/18 of 2023. And to be honest, I don't like their pruning methods, if you will. So because they have the extension automatically because of COVID till 2013, I'd like to meet with the homeowners before we vote to approve that. So it's
Okay,
more or less a no action.
all right. Sounds prudent, all right.
The next one is, the next two are both 108 Koch Pennicott Road, Robert Fogelman, map 16K, parcel LA, SE10 1239, for construction of the rock revetment for shore front protection. I'm gonna do these separately because I noticed in a previous, so they have a partial for 1239, but there's a note in here that was pointed out they didn't get the proper elevations that were supposed to be required throughout the revetment process. So I just need to look into that a little more. It's very old. I mean, it's a pretty old NOI, but I just want to look into that since it was noted before. So again, another no action.
Okay,
108 Koch Pennicott Road, Koch, I don't know, you Chatham people might know
Koch
Koch
Pennicott,
Pennicott.
okay.
Road, Robert Fogelman, map 16K, parcel LASE 101739, proposed addition to the existing dwelling. Again, it's another really old one. I don't have any issues with it. So this one we can actually vote on. There was, I mean, being that it was, trying to find a date,
Yeah. Look at the next one.
2000. You know, an older one, so didn't require as much as far as built and planting plans and that kind of thing. So, but the as-built is constructed in an appropriate or whatever the wording is, in a sufficiently satisfactory.
Was there, was there supposed to be mitigation with it?
They didn't have any on the plan. There's just one site plan. And all it said was, no, yeah, they just had silk fence. That was it. So yes, that one is insufficient compliance.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the certificate
And
of compliance.
Oh, Nikki's still speaking. Are you still speaking, Nikki, or?
Well, it's up to you. You can vote to approve this one, or I can, you know.
What year was this?
The addition was 2000.
2000. That's a long time ago, so.
Yeah, so I mean, there wasn't, I mean, it was a pretty short order of conditions. It was a pretty short, I mean, it did this plan, I mean, I think it was postal or what, someone didn't have any specific planting plans or mitigation plans or anything like that, so.
Yeah, this was passed for an order of conditions 22 years ago, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And then I guess we should probably do 50 Chase Street, Gerald Connolly,
Well, we
map
should-
16C parcel.
You want us to vote on
sorry.
108 Cutchapinicket?
I think we can do that one and the next one together because the septic installation is it's number 161, so it's from 1975 or whatever. It's a septic installation, so
It's probably,
it obviously has no conditions.
Okay.
It's just I
Yeah.
assume it's a real estate transfer. So I think we can vote on those two together. So I'll open that one real quick. 50 Chase Street, Gerald Connolly, map 16C, parcel 55C8, SE10 161, septic installation. So I recommend approval for that one and the 10/17/39.
I move that we approve the certificates of compliance for 108 Conchapinicket Road, SC 10/17/39, and also 50 Chase Street.
Latin second.
Roll call vote. I'm glad I don't have to say it. Janet,
aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I vote aye too.
Aye.
Yeah, Bob.
Oh, you forgot Bob.
Oh, I forgot you. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Bob. We're getting tired. We're getting tired. No, do they?
Oh, yeah, it's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Sure, the out-of-towners must really have fun with
Yeah.
ordering. Okay. And
Okay. Mill Creek.
So then we have 155 Mill Creek Road, Dennis Lenane, map 4C, parcel 9, SE10 3321, shorefront protection. So I got a couple emails about that. But I looked through the state, they have a partial certificate already, and there was just a note on it that said the plantings weren't in long enough. So that's the only note from the past that I have, because Janet and Bob Rawls were questioning it. So I don't have any reason to deny the full certificate of compliance, unless anyone who recalls it from the past has a reason. But yeah, like that, Callie only noted that there was a note that they'd only been in for 2 years, and it's been 2 or 3 years since she wrote that note. So, and the plants are there, and I forwarded some pictures to the interested parties.
So Nikki, when was,
So I don't,
when was the order? Was it 2017? 3/3/20. I think it's 2019.
yeah, I think it was,
So if it was 2019, it's just coming up on its 3 years now.
so in 2020, so almost just under 2 years ago, they requested a certificate of compliance. So that was like, kind of right before I started. And that's where the note was that the plants hadn't been in long enough, so they got a partial. 11/13/20 mitigation plantings have not survived for 3 full years. But then everything else seems to be dated 2019.
But when you went out there, the mitigation plans looked fine.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a lot fuller than when they applied in 2020. So I think they're definitely filling in pretty good.
Nikki, I noticed in the
Hey, guys.
pictures, I noticed in the pictures there was, I think, probably an invasive vine growing through some of them. I couldn't really couldn't
Yeah,
tell
I
that
was just looking at
well.
that, and I kind of think that maybe, is that English ivy?
I don't know, maybe porcelain berry, I'm not sure. I'm just wondering whether it's being, managed, that planting is being managed properly.
Just double check the order. Yeah, all the special conditions are related to the revetment, not so much the plantings.
What I recall was some back and forth with the previous agent. There was some question about, and I can't find the communication, so if I can't find it, I can't be specific about it. And if you don't see it in your records, Nikki, then I guess there's no reason to deny it.
I mean, again, even though it's only a few years old, it still didn't have the maintain that invasives don't get into the mitigation area and everything. So it's something I can ask the applicant if they are willing to have put in to the certificate of compliance. As an ongoing condition, but yeah, it definitely looks like it's going to be 100% overgrown by invasives.
Were you able to see the whole extent of the project area? Because as I recall, it's a bit difficult to see it all unless you're in a kayak.
Yeah, no, it's a hard to access area.
Yeah. Because I noticed that the pictures that were submitted sort of showed the, one end of it, but not so much the other end of it.
So maybe I will say probably no action on this one, just until I can talk with Dennis, the contractor.
The other thing, Nikki, is that
I mean, it's better than it was when it was first applied for. There's no doubt about that. And I don't have anything that says that he has to maintain that invasives don't go out or
right.
overcome the area, but
also, as a 2019 order, don't they get the automatic COVID extension, so they're not coming up against a expiration deadline?
Yeah, I don't have the spreadsheet open, but
Yeah.
they get some 400 some odd days.
Unless they're
general.
selling it.
Yeah, so let me, the 155 Mill Creek, one of the 108s and the 77. Let me just get back to them on all, on those couple questions.
Okay, yeah, it could be that what I'm recalling is, not accurate. I just don't have a way of proving it one way or another. But if you have other issues that you'd like to look at, then I think it's probably well worth it. I know there's a bit of a history for the project. Just want to make sure it's
again,
signed
the
off
only
correctly.
note I had in the file was that the plantings weren't in long enough, but
Yep.
But I wouldn't mind looking into it a little further with the contractor.
Okay.
Great.
All right, thank you. Then we'll
right,
defer
so
that one then.
No action.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure when they'll be on That just depends on when people get back to me.
Yep, okay.
So minutes to be approved. I don't believe you got September 7th, correct?
Yeah,
I
well,
have it.
Yeah, I found it on MyTownGov and put it in Dropbox, so we've had it since this morning,
Oh, you did?
yeah. I don't know if it,
Hey, Nikki, it's Elise. I was not at the meeting on the 24th of August.
So you don't vote.
And my name is listed twice. This is Cheryl on the 7th for being present and absent.
Yeah.
good trick.
Nice trick.
It was, good deal.
Which one was it, Cheryl?
You know, I think, I know I was absent.
Okay.
There's a,
So why don't we just start with, the 24th, and,
so on the 24th, on 105 Orleans Road, I think it should say raise and replace an existing second-level deck rather than raise and replace of existing. It just doesn't seem to make as much sense. Then 50 Sea Change Lane. The last sentences will remove the view, not V-O-E-W, V-I-E-W.
On mine, it's spelled right.
Oh, it is?
Isn't that
Well, see,
weird?
they gave I got the paper copy,
Yep.
so. And I don't know, 1218 Main Street, the third line is mitigation is being proposed by cleaning the storm water is more than adequate. I wasn't sure I understood that sentence.
I think what it's getting to is they are using the existing old septic tank and system now as a stormwater treatment system because the property's now on sewer.
Right.
So that's what he was getting at, but I think you're right that it's,
But if you take out the first is, it says mitigation being proposed by cleaning the
Hey.
stormwater is more than adequate.
that worked.
Great. Then 1151 Old Queen Anne, sort of the middle. I think maybe it could be the only other option for the homeowners to have a view of the water is to drag lawn chairs. So change that to 4 and get rid of the have. I think it makes more sense.
What part of it is?
It's the middle.
The only other option
For the homeowners
for the homeowners to have.
to have a view.
Okay,
I think it's that, oh geez.
somebody's,
And I think that's all I had.
okay. I'll go next because I'm very simple. Mine was, I had it highlighted for easy finding and now it was, Scattery, 229 Scattery Road. There were references to a B zone, and I think it's supposed to be a V zone. Because there is a V zone where the property comes up to the town landing, and it's a large lawn area, so I just corrected that.
that's it,
I just got a few things.
okay?
Couple things. 305 Main Street. I think the third sentence and the fourth sentence, it says submitted a plant book. Should be plant list. And then it says, and then a ways down it says the
area.
same thing. Plant, should be plant, it says plant book list. It should be just eliminate book and just plant
There it is,
list.
okay, got it.
I missed also in that same 305, the 4 trees in the mitigation area.
Oops, there it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I missed that one.
And then
Actually, I do recall that they may have called it a plant booklet.
I thought they had a list, a book.
Yeah, Jen calls hers a book, but
Oh, really?
Yeah, She does.
I mean, it doesn't
Doesn't matter.
matter so much for the minutes, but
Yeah. And then 1151 Old Queen Anne Road. Third to last sentence, or fourth to last sentence. On the uphill side, there's an area of open sand that they are proposing some, where they are proposing some little blue stem to vegetate the area, not bluegrass.
Blue stem.
And that's all I had.
Okey-doke. Shall we just do the other one and then vote them all the same?
Yeah.
Can I vote if I was not present at, this is Cheryl, since I
Yeah.
wasn't present for the 7th, can I vote? Or do I have to abstain?
yes, you can vote to approve them. You just can't, when you're absent too much, you can't vote on actual like permits and,
Okay.
Good question, Cheryl.
Yeah, because I don't know what you guys talked about on the 7th, but
Right.
I will agree with you all that what's written down here is true.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to drop off, so I
Okay,
don't have
Mary.
any.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, we're going to the 7th? Okay. I'm reading fast because I didn't see this morning.
I don't think I did either.
I have one thing here.
Okay.
On 209 Seaview Street, the third sentence, add to findings the 2 trees that will be removed. There's actually just 1 tree that's going to be removed. And then the last sentence, special condition 6, add the yew shrub
Oh, right.
being removed. That was Karen's comment. Not second tree. It's actually a shrub. And I think that's all I had.
Yeah, I thought I had something, but I can't find it, so. Oh. One 170 Main Street, AI septic.
I wondered about that, but I didn't know what it was supposed to be, so.
Or AL septic, I don't know.
it should probably be IA then,
IA.
innovative alternative.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Not alternative intelligence.
Yeah, I was thinking
Well,
that.
that's, I went, but I didn't know what it was, so.
Artificially intelligent septic.
Right, the septic system that's become self-aware, yeah. That's what we need.
We're heading there.
That'd be nice.
I think it's time. I'm pumped.
I'm not taking this crap any longer.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right,
That's
it's time. Oh, my. That was good.
That was very good.
All right, so with that,
I'll move that we approve the minutes for October 24th, 2022.
August.
I move that we approve the minutes for August 24th, 2022, and September 7th, 2022.
Latin second.
roll call vote. Bob,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
not Mary, but Cheryl,
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
And I vote aye. And, yes.
I've marked those up, Nikki, and they're in the Dropbox.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and any other business?
Anything unforeseen?
No.
Doesn't appear to be.
I hope you enjoyed Evelyn's presence.
We loved it. She can be a new
Yes.
member of the commission. She can be an associate.
Boy, you've really had it this year with the illnesses.
So,
I know. I don't know if I'm over COVID or just getting RSV, but both kids have RSV now. It's just,
I thought that ours, I
hey,
assume,
we're getting it out of the way in October instead of.
Yeah, there's that.
I assumed that RSV was a children's disease, but apparently
No.
not, okay.
My daughter-in-law had it badly
No,
for
can
2
I-
weeks.
Okay. Yeah, what's left for you to get? I don't know.
Flu.
Don't.
Flu.
Well, you know, getting the vaccine for the flu really helps.
Do kids get it?
Kids can get flu.
Sure they can.
Yeah, but the vaccine?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I never did.
Anyway,
Mine did.
I'll move to adjourn.
Latin second.
roll call vote, Bob,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
and I vote aye. And, yeah, 3 hours, not too bad, all right.